Hey, we're back with another video now. Today, we're going to be doing Abby Phillips. And let's get it, let's go. Let's hop right into it. The civil rights icon for the ship, what are we doing here? Civil rights icon, they're taking one down.
It's worth noting that on the list of names that they are reportedly considering, this is according to the CBS of the New York Times, CNN hasn't independently confirmed it, it's Thurgood Marshall, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Harriet Tubman, Dolores Huerta, Lucy Stone.
Thurgood Marshall they're going to take down? Oh man, they're picking...
Cesar Chavez, Medgar Evers, civil rights leaders, all of them, women and people of color.
No, I think it's always very important to look at this through moral and spiritual lens. See, brother, I met Brother Harvey, and he's poured a Goldwater in '64. He's a Jewish brother from Bayshore. He underwent a change and transformation. He was murdered, organized hatred against precious gay brothers and lesbian sisters, and trans, and black folk, and brown folk, and Jews, and Arabs, and Muslims, and white folk. All human beings can be hated. And we've got to put a stop to the cycle of any form of hatred. And Moscone was also assassinated. The mayor was assassinated the same day, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a supervisor who had voted against him who had killed him, and then he committed suicide after he left jail. That's a level of spiritual decay back then that we still have to come to terms with today.
I respect him. He spoke for both white and black. He wasn't just speaking for black people. I respect that. All people. Facts. But at the same time, we gotta discuss it. We gotta talk about it. Let's get it.
So when I see Harriet Tubman, I say, oh my God, it's too good to be on any U.S. ship anyway, tell you the truth.
Just because it irritates some of y'all.
That's a different conversation.
Exactly.
And it's early.
Talk about warrior ethos.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I love my guns.
What are we doing here? Is the idea just that if you are a woman, if you are a person of color in American history, you don't get remembered or recorded on a ship, but if you are a Confederate traitor to this country, you do. I mean, Donald Trump, back in 2017, said it was sad to see the history and culture of our great country being ripped apart with the removal of our beautiful statues and monuments. You can't change history, but you can learn from it. Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson.
At Planet Fitness, there's a number of ways to get strong, and they all add up to one membership.
I mean, that's worth defending, but not Harriet Tubman, Thurgood Marshall, Medgar Evers.
Medgar Evers, Harriet Tubman, I think their names should stay on the ships. I mean, these were incredible Americans who withstood insurmountable odds. I mean, certainly things that, hell, I certainly couldn't imagine today, Abby, in the modern sense.
But just off the strength of them wanting to remove these names, doesn't that say to y'all how they see us? They don't see us as Americans. They want to remove these names, even though these names play pivotal roles in a lot of things that were going on in America. They're American citizens that were fighting for their right to freedom, but they don't want to put them in the conversation. It says a lot. It really does.
And I would argue, thinking about the warrior ethos, particularly Harriet Tubman, I mean, this is someone who I think really embodies what you would want in a warrior, someone with a level of courage and magnanimity. You talked about this once before, Doc, a couple of years ago. And so I would certainly think she would be someone who would instill the sense of pride and fearlessness you would want in your warriors. I'm not exactly sure why the secretary is making this decision. I know he says he wants to move in a different direction. But those three individuals in particular, I think we should leave their names on the ships.
But is this really what we want our Secretary of Defense to be focused on right now?
No.
Don't we want him to be focused on the strength of our military?
The war in Ukraine.
Keeping people safe, not someone's sexual orientation. I mean, this is the job of the Secretary of Defense, is to make sure that we have a strong military, not spend his time trying to figure out what is going to appease the far right or Donald Trump. And this is the problem with Hegseth. And I think that from the beginning, he has shown that he is not qualified for this job. He does not know how to do his job. And time after time after time, again, we continue to see that he has no idea what this job is about, and he cannot lead the Department of Defense. And so I think it's a real question about why is he spending his time doing this?
It's 3 days into Pride Month. And clearly a signal is being sent to the LGBTQ community, but particularly on this issue of gay rights, which we had a conversation on the show about this yesterday, about the erosion of support for gay rights among conservatives. This seems to be a very clear signal that they want to double down on that. And I think the question, to Sochit's point, is why? Why is this a priority for the defense secretary?
Well, I mean, let's not forget the Republicans had the first transgender speaker at a national conference in 2016.
Oh, man.
Would they do that today?
President Trump, I think she'd probably be invited to the White House.
You think so?
President Trump made Secretary Bessent the Secretary of Treasury, the highest ranking, to my recollection, the highest ranking openly gay American to ever hold that office. He's had Rick Grinnell in his first administration. He was the first president to actually run openly in support of gay marriage. So I don't think his LGBT record is really in question. But this isn't the hill I would die on. Just let me start with that caveat. But let me try to explain. There is still controversy about the LGBT movement. Right? We have this debate at this panel. We talk about women, men in sports and things like that. And we used to name Navy oilers after rivers. I looked that up before I came here, right? And at some point, the previous administration and others decided we're going to make political statements. And most of the people that they named ships after have no real political controversial views. And I think we are still having a debate over part of the LGBT issue in terms of how broad of a scope the movement can go without pushback. We're seeing, again, this issue with women and men competing in the same sports is an 80-20 issue where people are not with the LGBT community, right?
Yeah, but
I'm only saying that because we used to name ships after things that were not at all politically.
We name ships after people all the time, as we've established. We name military bases after people all the time. Some of those people tried to overthrow this very government. And so all of a sudden, when the people are black, brown, or women, it's a problem, but it's not a problem. When it was, Andrew Jackson or whatever it is.
I think it should be taken off.
I guess this, you were talking about Trump's credentials on LGBTQ issues. I think you're right about all the things that you noted. But I do ask, the question I have to ask is, what signal are they sending by making this move now and doing it with this particular ship that's named after someone who was killed just because he was gay?
I think his name was included to insert an idea into the public sphere about a political issue that we're having. I think that's part of somewhat of the DEI movement.
That's a hard thing to fight against. This is tough. All right, at least carbs, man. Oh, I need a lot of carbs. I gotta get to the track after this.
That Pete Hegseth has been talking about. So I think, at the very least, whether you agree with me or not, we're going to see more of this type of stuff happening, I think, as the military recalibrates.
I just want you to finish the thought, because is the statement that he is making that people like Harvey Milk should not be honored in this country? Is that the statement? What is the statement?
I mean, Harriet Tubman is honored in...
You got to admit, that's kind of funny. His name is Harvey Milk. Harvey Milk. Milk? Really? And he's gay. Yeah, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
In so many ways, I can't count it. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve a ship.
What is
my point is, if there is still, if there's a remnant of DEI included in certain things, including the names of, because I think it's a person whose contribution to society is celebrating the diversity of LGBT people.
Well,
in my opinion,
I mean, it could be that he was served honorably in the Navy. It could be that he was an elected official.
We have no other municipal elected official with ships named after him.
Okay.
Not one.
Yeah, but he was...
It's because he was a gay rights advocate.
Pete Hegseth, in an attempt to rename formerly named Confederate military bases back to their Confederate names, picked out of a list of veterans just random people who served, which is fine. Harvey Milk is a person who served.
These ain't the issues I die on, by the way.
I think part of what's at stake here is, how do you separate the raw vilification and hatred of vulnerable people, no matter who they are? And I've mentioned the whole list before, right? And it's a human thing, but we got to keep track of it. And then how do you have a respectful political conversation about wrestling with various issues and policies. The sad
You
thing,
can't have rational conversation with people who are on the right now, though. Like he just said, it's a DEI conversation about people who are Americans that did incredible things. They just happen to be gay, women, and black. That's it. But they want to remove all that because they don't want to talk about that kind of stuff or have that stuff on the ballot. It's funny, bro. Like, she's right. Like, Confederate leaders who were traitors to traitors, white people in the South were, oh, it's heritage, it's us, and this. But technically, Harriet Tubman, she's black, but she's part of your heritage. She was just as brave. Well, I think more, in my opinion.
is that they blew her. And so that's why so many of us said, no, we will defend our precious trans and gays and lesbians, even if we disagree with certain policies that's coming out of that community. I'm going to defend black folk, even when I have deep disagreements with black people, because I want their humanity affirmed, and that means what? Giving them the right to be wrong and the right to be right.
Families love friends.
I think people I know people on the right would love Cornel West because he's definitely very open-minded. He's not biased. He's black, but he definitely speaks to all perspectives. But, hey, I'm out. Peace.